All right, folks, strap in. We're diving headfirst into some seriously provocative stuff today. The Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey. And let me tell you, we're going straight to the source. No Hollywood horror stories here, just the raw text.
It's about time we separate fact from fiction. You know, people often forget or just never knew that Satanism has a history way before LaVey. It's a complex history, misunderstood, often demonized.
Right, this isn't just some fad from the 60s.
Not at all. But LaVey's book in '69, talk about a cultural hand grenade. The world was already a powder keg, right? Questioning authority, Vietnam, the whole counterculture explosion, and here comes LaVey challenging, well, everything.
He throws down the gauntlet right off the bat with those 9 satanic statements. Indulgence instead of abstinence. That's quite the opener.
He goes for the jugular, doesn't he? But that's the point. LaVey wants to shake people out of their complacency, get them thinking for themselves instead of blindly following dogma.
Okay, so indulgence over abstinence. What else we got?
Existence over spiritual pipe dreams. Vengeance instead of turning the other cheek. Man is just another animal.
Whoa, he's not pulling any punches. It almost feels like he's saying, look, humanity's got a dark side. Deal with it.
In a way, yes. But it's more than just shock value. LaVey argues that we're kidding ourselves if we think we're inherently good. We're driven by desire, by survival instincts, just like any other animal.
So he's not advocating for, like, anarchy or cruelty, is he?
No, not necessarily. He's more about radical honesty and self-responsibility. He's saying, stop hiding from your true nature, embrace your desires, but also take responsibility for your actions.
It's like he's trying to pull back the curtain on what he sees as hypocrisy, especially when it comes to traditional religion.
Absolutely. He's calling out the contradictions, the ways in which dogma can be used to control people. He's saying, wake up, think for yourselves, question everything.
But the Satanic Bible, it's more than just a collection of provocative statements, right? It has a structure, like actual chapters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He breaks it down into 4 sections. The Book of Satan, fire. The Book of Lucifer, air. Belial, earth. And Leviathan, water. Each one dives into a different aspect of his philosophy.
So he's creating a framework almost like chapters in a, dare I say it, Bible.
He is. But instead of worshiping a deity, it's about self-worship, self-empowerment. Take the Book of Satan. It's all about confronting those societal and religious lies he sees everywhere. Challenging authority, embracing individuality.
And Lucifer. What's that about? It sounds ominous.
Don't let the name fool you. It's actually about using reason and logic, questioning dogma, taking responsibility for your own actions.
It's like he's saying, don't wait for some divine being to save you. You're in the driver's seat of your own life.
Exactly. He's all about self-reliance, embracing your own potential, both the good and the, let's say, less than angelic aspects.
Okay, that's fire and air. Now we're getting into heavier elements, Belial and Leviathan. What do those books explore?
Belial, that's where things get interesting. It's about putting this philosophy into practice, into action. This is where LaVey dives into magic.
Magic, like casting spells and summoning demons.
Hold on, it's not quite as dramatic as that.
All right then, how does LaVey define magic?
To him, magic is a force, like gravity or electricity, something natural that can be harnessed and directed. It's about understanding how to use your will, your desires, even your negative emotions to achieve specific goals.
So it's more about self-empowerment, about tapping into your own inner strength.
You got it. It's about recognizing the power you have within yourself to shape your own reality, rather than relying on external forces. And Leviathan, well, that delves into even more, let's say, unconventional methods for doing just that.
Unconventional how? Give us a taste.
We're talking about things like the Enochian language, rituals, invocations. LaVey gets pretty deep into the mechanics of his version of magic in this section.
Wow, it seems like he's really trying to provide a toolkit for self-transformation.
Yeah.
Even if it means confronting some pretty taboo ideas.
Exactly. He's challenging everything we think we know about spirituality, about good and evil, about what it means to be human.
This is already a lot to process. We're just scratching the surface.
And this is where LaVey gets really interesting. It's not just theory with him, you know? His own life, it's like it's baked into this book.
You're telling me, carnival worker, crime scene photographer, the man had seen some things.
Right. Talk about a crash course in human nature. On one hand, you've got the spectacle, the illusions of the carnival, and then bam, the dark underbelly, the rawness of life and death.
No wonder he had a thing for the whole Black Pope image. But okay, let's talk about these rituals. LaVey outlines. Were they like actual ceremonies or more like, I don't know, performance art?
LaVey was adamant about this. Rituals aren't about worshiping some supernatural being, some devil on a throne. For him, it's psychodrama, pure and simple.
Psychodrama. Okay, you're going to have to break that down for me.
Think of it this way. We've all got these desires, these urges society tells us to repress. Bottle it up, slap on a happy face, right? LaVey says those repressed emotions, they fester, they hold us back.
So the rituals are a way to let loose, but in a controlled way.
Exactly. It's like giving yourself permission to explore those taboo desires, to act them out, but within the confines of a ritual. You release that pent-up energy, gain a sense of control, even empowerment.
Sounds intense. But what about the talk of human sacrifice? That's where I get a little creeped out.
Let's be clear.
Yeah.
In LaVeyan Satanism, human sacrifice is symbolic.
Okay, good. Because that's a line I'm not sure I want to cross.
No worries. LaVey's not advocating for actual violence.
So what does symbolic human sacrifice even mean in this context?
It's about directing your will, your anger, your frustration at someone who has truly wronged you. But instead of physical harm, you're using curses, hexes, visualizations. You're destroying them on a psychological level.
Okay, so less about blood sacrifices and more about, like, psychic warfare.
You could say that. He even says that the best targets for these sacrifices are what he calls psychic vampires. People who drain your energy, manipulate you, make your life miserable. It's about taking back your power from those who abuse it.
I can see how that would be appealing, especially for people who've been walked all over. But what about this black mass thing? That's straight out of horror movies.
The Black Mass is classic LaVey pure satire, a big middle finger to religious authority.
So less about devil worship and more about sticking it to the man.
Exactly. He takes the Catholic Mass, all the rituals and symbols, and flips them on their head. It's blasphemous, sure, but it's meant to expose what LaVey sees as the hypocrisy of traditional religion. It's about reclaiming your power from institutions that try to control you through guilt and fear.
He's all about turning things upside down, isn't he? So let's talk practical magic. Is this like casting spells to get rich or something?
Remember how we talked about magic as a natural force? Not about supernatural beings, but about harnessing your own energy, your willpower, and yeah, even those negative emotions we tend to suppress.
So less about wishing on a star, more about like willpower and focus.
Exactly. LaVey argues that magic is about understanding how to work with your desires, your intentions, using symbolism and ritual to achieve your goals. And he even suggests that a lot of successful people, even if they wouldn't call themselves Satanists, are using these principles without realizing it.
What do you mean? Like, what kind of people are we talking about here?
Think about those who are fiercely ambitious, who embrace indulgence, who take risks and defy expectations to get what they want. They're not asking for permission or waiting for a sign. They see what they want and go after it. That's a very satanic approach in LaVey's view.
That's interesting. I mean, this makes you wonder about the line between ambition and, well, something more, let's say, diabolical.
Right. It all comes back to those questions of good and evil, free will versus determinism. But if LaVey rejects the idea of the devil as a literal being, why even call it Satanism? Why not choose a term that's, less loaded?
Yeah, I mean, talk about a conversation starter.
It was definitely a deliberate choice. To LaVey, the word Satan represents rebellion, self-reliance, and the pursuit of your desires in the face of those who would tell you to deny yourself, to feel guilty for being human. He chose Satanism because it's a challenge, a provocation. He wants you to confront your assumptions, your fears, and really examine the complexities of human nature.
It's certainly been effective at getting people talking for the past 50 years. But with all the hype and the controversy, it's easy to lose sight of the actual message of the Satanic Bible.
And that's what we're trying to do here, to separate the sensationalism from the substance.
Well said. Now back to this whole idea of living by satanic principles. So we've gone pretty deep on the Satanic Bible. Unpack the statements, the structure, even LaVey's more colorful personal anecdotes. But for you, what's the biggest disconnect between the hype around this book and what LaVey actually put on the page?
For all the shock value, what often gets overshadowed is the emphasis on personal responsibility.
That's interesting, because you wouldn't think Satanism and responsibility go hand in hand.
Right. But LaVey, he hammers this home. Your choices, your actions, you own them. No divine intervention, no blaming the devil. It's all on you.
Which is a pretty heavy concept when you think about it. No cosmic bailout plan in LaVey's universe.
Nope. And that's terrifying for some folks, liberating for others. It's all about shaping your own destiny, even if it means confronting some hard truths about yourself and the world.
And LaVey definitely doesn't shy away from uncomfortable truths. I mean, from those 9 satanic statements on, he's pushing buttons, making people squirm.
He wants you to look in the mirror, no rose-colored glasses, recognize you're capable of good and evil, or maybe scrap those labels altogether. Life's a struggle, sure, but you've got the power to influence the outcome.
We've covered a ton of ground here. If you had to leave our listener with one thing to really ponder, something that gets at the core of LaVey's whole deal, what would it be?
LaVey claims that many successful people at the top of their game, they're living by satanic principles without even realizing it. The drive, the ambition, the willingness to break the rules to get what they want. Does that ring true to you? And if so, what does that say about our world, about what it takes to succeed in the 21st century? It makes you think, doesn't it?
It sure does. And on that note, folks, we'll leave you to ponder those very questions. Dive into the Satanic Bible yourself. See what resonates, what repels, what makes you rethink your place in this wild ride we call life. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and as always, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.